Hey, it's John here and welcome back to another production tutorial video. I did one of those a couple of weeks ago, got a lot of great feedback, so I wanted to record a second one here and show you how this very simple template that I introduced you to in the last video, how that actually works across different styles of old school house music, which is what I love and what I make. So I came back to shoot this video because I'm working on a new track right now. So this is something that will probably come out in a few weeks from now. It's a lot more clubby than the last track that I showed you the making of. And I want to show you how this template works just as well for this a lot more clubby sound. And I also want to show you a little trick that I use when I compose the bass line for my songs that make it a lot more housey, or give it this instant old school house music feel if you just do this one little trick. So let me play you the loop first so you know what material we're dealing with. Then I'm going to dive into the individual tracks just real quick, and I'm going to show you how I use this loop to roll it out to a quick test to see how that song arrangement could flow. All right, so let's jump into the loop first. All right, so this is what we're dealing with. Again, a lot more clubby, pretty stompy, the sound, but then it has this nice vocal embedded in there and a little bit of acid vibes in it with this 303 loop. All right, so what's in it? Again, I like to make my music really in a minimalist way. So I like to use as few elements as possible as are needed to make a really full sounding track. And really here it comes down to just a handful of tracks. So first we have the kick, very straightforward. We have a top loop. So this one's very stompy, right, to support this club sound. Then we have a ride cymbal. I love the ride cymbal because it's such an easy way to add some high frequencies to the track. And if you want to build up energy in a track throughout, adding more high frequencies will do just that, right? High frequency, add a lot of energy to a track, and a ride cymbal is just a perfect tool to do this. We have our standard 909 crash cymbal. There you go. And then my favorite bass, the FM8, playing the solid bass preset. I just love that. It's just a classic bass sound. And then here we have an organ sound. It supports the bass line. Then we have the TB303 loop. You'll hear this better when I play you the arrangement, because this one really comes in very, very slowly as the filter opens up. The stab sound. Let me open up the filter on this one so you can hear it better. And this is a sample. So what I like to do is I try to look for loops that sound, or that have great sounding stabs in them, and then I'll cut out one of the chords and then use my own MIDI to play whatever chord progression that I want to play with this chord. So that's what's happening here. I found a second stab sound, which also has this old school vibe to support the same chord progression. This is what it sounds like. Then we have our vocal chop loop here. Then we have the main loop, the main vocal, which I played, and then string sound, very straightforward. All right, so those are all the elements. Now, what I wanted to show you about this little trick that I applied to my bass line is this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna filter out just the kick drum, the solid bass, and the organ. So what you may notice is, and I'm going to show you this because I think it's easier to see than to hear, that the solid bass and the organ, they do not play the same root note. If they play the same root note, right, so you can see it's on a B here, so let me move the organ, oh, that's not what I want to do, move the organ to the same root note, right? If I move this to B2 here, this is what it sounds like. Sounds kind of boring, right? Sounds kind of boring if both the solid bass and the organ played the same root note. But the moment you start moving this organ to a different note that's within the chord progression that you're using in your song, all of a sudden it adds this instant additional sort of house vibe to the song. So let me show you what would happen if I moved the organ here. And I'm getting some snags with the audio here. I'm not sure if you're hearing this in the recording as well, but just in case you do, apologies that the audio engine is acting up here a little bit. But you can instantly hear how you can feel the chords just between the bass line, the solid bass, and the organ the moment you open up an interval between those two. Right, and in my particular case, I actually moved it up 7 semitones, and that's what it sounds like. So again, little trick. If you use 2 sounds for your bass line, for example, a solid bass plus an organ, try to not have them play the same root note, but see if there's an interval that you can use between those two that instantly introduces the chord progression, or some of those the vibes that come from those chord progressions, for lack of better describing it, to the listener, right? It just feels a lot more housey the moment you open up an interval between the two. All right, so now what I did is I used just this handful of loops that I have here, and I put it into a simple arrangement. This is what it looks like. And the reason why I do this is I want to see whether I have enough elements to add enough flow and excitement and variety to a full track. So let me play this for you. And obviously what I've done here is I've added some filter movements. I added some additional effects, some of which I might point out as I play this. But you can see that this, I mean, how many tracks do we have here? Maybe it's like 10 tracks or so. It's enough to start making a solid sounding house track. So let me play this for you.
okay if you're honest, babe. Go tell your lover, 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 lover.
And this is where I leave you hanging, hopefully awaiting the release of this song once it's done. And once you'll be able to get it on Spotify, Apple Music, Beatport, and wherever you consume music. So thanks for checking in for another quick tutorial video here on how I make some of my songs. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your feedback below. Let me know what you're doing about your songs. So maybe any questions that you have about how I make my songs, something that I can use in another video and maybe answer that question for you. That way we can engage. And yeah, that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.